Welcome to Kansas Ag Report with your host, Brian Holman.
Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Brian Holman, and here's our lineup for today's show. In Ag News, we'll take a look at local and national headlines affecting Kansas farmers. In our Ag Feature, we sit down with Kevin Thielen from Kansas Beef Council to talk about Beef Month. And Inside Kansas Ag, KDA also talks to us about Beef Month. And Kansas Wheat tells us more about the National Festival of Breads. And in news you need to know, we get our weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association, look back at last week's market activity with the guys from Paragon, and we'll let you know about important events coming up around the state of Kansas. Glad you could join us.
Closed captioning brought to you by
The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org. Kansas Beef. Celebrate beef all May during Beef Month.
Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Here's our national headlines for this week in Ag News. U.S. corn and soybean planting caught up last week as producers in some key growing areas took advantage of at least some improvement in weather. As of Sunday, the USDA says 71% of corn is planted, a little bit behind last year, but slightly ahead of the 5-year average. 32% of soybeans are planted, just behind 2016, but in line with the national average. 51% of winter wheat is in good to excellent shape, and 63% of winter wheat has headed. 78% of spring wheat is planted, compared to the usual pace of 73%. The Trump administration has announced an agreement with China that is intended to improve access of U.S. beef to the country. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross says the agreement will reopen the Chinese market to U.S. beef by mid-July. China is a $2.5 billion market that the U.S. beef producers haven't had full access to since BSE concerns following a U.S. case in 2003. China also agreed to accelerate its biotech approval process by the end of May, promising to evaluate 8 pending biotechnology crops. China's appetite for pork drove a 13% increase in the country's April soybean imports. Government data from China says strong soybean meal demand prompted record-setting monthly imports. China needs feed for its growing number of hogs, according to Jim Sutter, CEO of the U.S. Soybean Export Council. The U.S. has exported more than 57 million metric tons of soybeans, soybean meal, and soybean oil so far this marketing year, versus less than 50 million a year ago. And in local news, the Kansas Department of Commerce will host International Trade Day on June 6th in the Colonial Ballroom of Emporia State University's Memorial Union. Registration will begin at 8 a.m. International Trade Day is designed to help Kansas businesses start exporting or grow existing exports. Registration for the 2017 International Trade Day is open with a registration fee of $50. For a complete agenda, more information, or to register, please go to kansascommerce.gov/2017 Trade Day. Winter wheat condition rated 38% good and 6% excellent. Winter wheat headed was 84%, near 87% last year, but ahead of the 5-year average of 68%. Corn planted was 60%, behind 78% last year and the 72% average. Emerge was 34%, behind 49% last year and the 42% average. Soybeans planted was 16%, near 13% last year, but behind the 20% average. Emerge was 4%, near 1% last year and 5% average. Sorghum planted was 2%, equal to last year and near the 5-year average. Kansas Secretary of Agriculture Jackie McClaskey announced that Dr. Justin Smith has been named as the new Kansas Animal Health Commissioner at KDA. Dr. Smith will fill the role that will be vacated with the retirement of Dr. William Brown. The Animal Health Commissioner serves as the executive officer of the KDA Division of Animal Health, overseeing the agency's 3 program areas: disease control and traceability, animal facilities inspection, and brands, all of which work to ensure the health and welfare of Kansas livestock and domestic animals. Up next in our Ag Future, we sit down with Kevin Thielen from Kansas Beef Council to talk about Beef Month. You're watching Kansas Ag Report. Please stay tuned.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
This Medford, New Jersey school bus runs on biodiesel, and so do these. In fact, all of these buses run on clean-burning biodiesel, which is great because the more we use biodiesel in our heavy-duty vehicles, the less carbon pollution in our air. Think how great it would be if more of our school buses ran on biodiesel. More biodiesel, less carbon pollution. More is less. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Thanks for joining us this morning. We're at the Kansas Beef office here in Topeka, and we just happen to be here during May, which happens to be Beef Month. Kevin, it's good to see you.
Thanks. Good to see you.
33rd year, the governor's, or not Governor Brownback, but this is the 33rd year that a governor in the state of Kansas has proclaimed May as Beef Month, and rightfully so. It's a huge portion of the agricultural receipts in the state.
Yeah, and always thankful that the governor takes time out of their day to help us celebrate. This year we were lucky enough to have Randall and Aaron Debler, and they're Wabaunsee County natives, and they have a cow-calf operation and very invested into the beef community. Member of our executive committee, and he and his family went and took a photo with the governor, just to kind of give everybody a visual, if you will, because that really is what the beef industry looks like, is family owned and family operated. So we're very proud of who we work for and what we do.
When we think about agriculture in the state of Kansas, about $7 billion, I think, is the total cash receipts for agriculture in the state. The beef industry makes up 56.8% of that, so well over half of the cash receipts. It's a huge industry. It
is a huge industry, and I think sometimes we forget the fact, Brian, that it's a huge industry that's local, and everywhere in the state of Kansas, those farmers and ranchers are they're involved in their local communities. They're paying taxes there in their local communities, and so very important for the state of Kansas. And I think the greatest asset we have is those families, because they're so invested in that local community. But Kansas is the third nationwide as far as feeding state, so we have a large feeding operations here in the state of Kansas, behind Nebraska and behind Texas, and we flip-flop kind of year in, year out with Nebraska to where sometimes we're second or third. But it really works well for us to feed here in the state of Kansas, because we've got cropland, but we also have got native prairie that we can use for the cow herd. So really great dynamics here for the beef industry.
And I think you brought up 2 points there. One of them is family owned and operated, multiple generations. Family owned and operated, and young people coming in. I look at the Downies. I think about Barb and Joe, and think about their daughters coming back to the farm, as they get out of school and things like that, coming back to the farm. So passing it down, but bringing up tax base. Those farmers are buying their corn, soy meal, all those things from local producers in and around their area.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Downies, and we think about, sustainability gets a lot of press nowadays, and I think we're lucky because for us, I think we've been sustainable for a long time, because you think about those new generations entering the business, and we're doing that because we're caring for the land and caring for the cattle, and that's a message that at the Kansas Beef Council we've been really promoting, and there's a lot of power there.
Well, not only that, what was once great land is even better land now, and we can talk about that in the next segment. So when we come back, we'll finish up with our first part of a 4-part series with Kevin here at the Kansas Beef Council. You're watching Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you in just a minute.
This segment brought to you by the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org. Kansas Beef. Celebrate beef all May during Beef Month.
Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
Thanks for staying with us. We're at the Kansas Beef Council here in Topeka, and during Beef Month, we're joined by Kevin Thielen, who's the Executive Director of the Kansas Beef Council. In our first segment, we were talking about the face of Kansas beef. I mean, if you think about it, lots of families, multiple generations in the industry here in the state of Kansas. And we touched on sustainability, and I want to talk about that real quick, is because I think one thing that people don't understand is without continued sustainability in the industry here in the state of Kansas, we will not have an industry.
Right, and one of the things that the Checkoff has done way back in 2009, 2010, 2011, is we did a life cycle analysis, and the Checkoff is in the process of kind of updating that information. And again, we don't know what that data is going to say, but we would expect that we're going to see continued improvement. And so the reason that 2010 information was collected was just to give us a baseline. But obviously sustainability is something that ranchers do every day because they are so focused on that next generation. Right. And that's a powerful message for us to consumers. Just make sure that they understand that. And I think for the most part they do, but you just remind them of it. Right.
And one of the things that we were talking off camera during commercial break is some of the things you're doing with corn and soybeans as far as marketing to outside the Asian, basically, communities, not communities, but countries, on the importance of not only Kansas beef, but U.S. beef.
Yeah, and we're lucky that our board did a partnership with Kansas Corn and Kansas Soybean, targeting beef into Korea. Right. And we've seen a lot of upside, if you will, in the Korean market. They are actually adopting kind of cooking technologies that I think we would consider more KC barbecue or right. Low and slow. And that in the last 2 years has really taken off over there. So with that, beef sales are kind of going up. Right. So we targeted chilled beef going into Korea and really saw a great response, and it's something that our board's going to look at this summer and trying to look at something for next year to see if we can do something similar with corn and beans.
Well, not only that, but you look at what Taiwan, Japan, Korea are doing. They're huge markets for U.S. beef.
Huge markets, and honestly, Brian, I think the future really does lie in exports. About $280 per animal, per beef animal. That value comes from export markets, so it's a huge opportunity. And the one thing I think people need to remember is a lot of times the cuts that we're exporting are cuts that may not have a lot of value here. Tongue, liver, things like that. But
tail, which just happens to be one of my favorites, yeah. By the way.
But in Egypt or places like that, huge value, and it's something that they're very used to. So a lot of opportunity in export markets.
Perfect. We're going to continue with Kevin. You'll see him next week as well. So as we finish out May and Beef Month, you're watching Kansas Ag Report, and we'll see you in just a minute.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Beef. Celebrate beef all May during Beef Month.
If you would like to advertise your business on Kansas Ag Report, give us a call, 785-580-3287.
Kansas historically is a national leader in beef production, with 6.4 million cattle as of the first of this year. And the Kansas Department of Agriculture is pleased to celebrate our hardworking ranchers during the month of May, as the governor has proclaimed it Kansas Beef Month. I'm Heather Lansdowne, Director of Communications at KDA, and I'm proud of the Kansas beef industry, a valued part of Kansas agriculture, known across the nation for the high-quality beef produced in the state. Beef is the single largest sector in the Kansas agriculture industry and includes leaders at all levels of the production chain, as well as in research, health, marketing, and advocacy. The heritage of Kansas beef is also known throughout the world, as we rank third in beef and veal exports at $712 million. With beef cattle in every single county in the state, it's a vital part of the local and state economies. The beef producers of Kansas are committed to the health, comfort, and well-being of their cattle, and they are also committed to providing high-quality meat products, which are an important part of the nutritious, not to mention delicious, diet. Lean beef provides 10 essential nutrients, including zinc, iron, protein, and B vitamins, and a 3-ounce serving of lean beef has less than 10 grams of fat and 150 calories, while providing nearly half the daily value for protein. So join the Kansas Department of Agriculture and enjoy Kansas steaks and burgers as we celebrate the important contributions of the Kansas beef industry during Kansas Beef Month this May.
Bread, barbecue, and beer sounds like a perfect Saturday. All three can be found at the National Festival of Breads in Manhattan, Kansas on June 17th. Follow the aroma of freshly baked bread and expertly smoked barbecue to the Hilton Garden Inn from 8:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. Samples, children's activities, live music, baking and barbecue demonstrations, door prizes, vendors, a 5K race, and a beer garden are just the tip of the iceberg for this family-friendly event. Inside the hotel ballroom will be baking demonstrations, 8 finalists competing for the title of 2017 National Festival of Breads Champion, a children's area, bread samples, your chance to win a purple KitchenAid mixer, new recipes, and much more. Speakers for the baking portion of the day include best-selling cookbook author Jeff Hertzberg, internationally published food stylist Tori Cox, King Arthur Flowers' Paula Gray, manager of the Bake for Good Kids program, and Home Baking Association's Sharon Davis. Outside on the Blue Earth Plaza will be national champion pitmaster Rod Gray of Pellet Envy, demonstrations from the Backyard Kitchen, a beer garden, and a food truck from Cox Brothers Barbecue. In lieu of an entry fee, festival goers are encouraged to bring a non-perishable food item that will be donated to the Flint Hills Bread Basket.
Thanks for making Kansas Ag Report the most watched ag show in Kansas.
This segment brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
You need a partner that you can count on to be there for your business, providing a depth of understanding to risk management issues so you don't have to. A knowledgeable support team located in your area, delivering products and services to make you more successful.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
This Medford, New Jersey school bus runs on biodiesel, and so do these. In fact, all of these buses run on clean-burning biodiesel, which is great because the more we use biodiesel in our heavy-duty vehicles, the less carbon pollution in our air. Think how great it would be if more of our school buses ran on biodiesel. More biodiesel, less carbon pollution. More is less. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
A new report shows cattle are a key economic driver for Kansas. According to Kansas Ag Statistics, cattle generated $7.86 billion in cash receipts during 2016. Cattle and calves are the largest segment of the state's ag economy, generating 56.8% of total agricultural cash receipts during 2015. Kansas Governor Sam Brownback has recognized the economic importance of cattle, the ranching and feeding industries, and those who are involved in the business by proclaiming May as Beef Month. One of the factors behind the governor's declaration is the state's national prominence in cattle and beef production. Kansas ranks third in total cattle numbers, second in commercial cattle processed for beef, third in fed cattle marketed, and sixth in beef cow numbers. The Kansas Beef Council is using Beef Month to provide seasoning and cooking tips for the summer grilling season. Checkoff-funded studies have shown millennials, the beef industry's key target audience, lack the knowledge to properly cook beef and prefer recipes that take 30 minutes or less to prepare. Young consumers indicate education in the areas of cooking a steak to the desired doneness and achieving steak cooking success probably or definitely would encourage them to make more steak purchases. Checkoff dollars at the national and state level are being used to provide purchasing, cooking, and recipe information that will increase beef usage with millennials.
Good morning. I'm Derek Hermish with Paragon Ag. They say if you don't like the weather in Kansas, just wait 15 minutes. It'll change. That's been a pretty good description for the cattle market these days. Limit up one day, limit down the next. It's enough to make a guy's head spin. It can make you forget where you're at, where you came from, and what you need to get where you're headed. Feeder cash cattle bottomed out in late October just under $1.20 and recently topped out just under $1.50. That's a 30-cent gain in 6 months. Problem is, 20 cents of that came in the last month and a half, and it feels like it could be lost just as fast. That's where it gets messy. There are a lot of different ways to handle volatile markets, and a lot of it depends on your emotional threshold. I'm guessing a lot of cattlemen have tested that threshold in the last 6 months, on both ends of good and bad. If you have, you're going to want to do some self-reflection in the next 3 months to try and get a handle on what your wheelhouse is when it comes to managing risk. That self-reflection does not consist of only looking at your hedge account and seeing a gain or loss, and it doesn't consist of only looking at the gains or losses on cash cattle sold. You have to take the whole thing into context and look at the quote-unquote good or bad decisions you made in the last 6 months. Boil them down, see what worked, what didn't, and what led to it. And don't bring any second guessers with you to this table. Second guessers make terrible cattlemen. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
Closed captioning brought to you by
The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org. Kansas Beef. Celebrate beef all May during Beef Month.
Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
Well, that's our show for today. I hope you'll join us each week for more news and information about agriculture in the state of Kansas. I'm Brian Holman, and thanks for watching.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
You need a partner that you can count on to be there for your business. Providing a depth of understanding to risk management issues so you don't have to. A knowledgeable support team located in your area, delivering products and services to make you more successful.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.